Hello, book lovers. Welcome back to my channel. This is me, Yamini, and you are watching Procrastinate with Books. Today, I have one of the most anticipated reads of this year for me. I wanted to read the Poppy War series for such a long time, and finally, I've been able to do so. I'm really not able to decide whether I'm happy I covered the series or I'm actually feeling sad that it's over. So I will quickly share my reviews with you guys. But before actually starting ahead with the video, I wanted to inform you that this video is divided into two parts. So the first part will be discussing a spoiler-free version of the blurbs and the book review, whereas the second part of this video would actually be discussing an in-depth analysis of what I actually felt and what are my thoughts regarding the whole series. So without any further ado, let's quickly jump in. The series is actually a part of three books and one side novella which discusses different fronts of the series, and the plot is based out in an old Chinese empire where the provinces were earlier named by the names of the Chinese horoscopes like the Dragon Province, Rat, Bear, Horse, and so on and so forth. Mixed with that are two kind of people in this world: the one who believe in gods, their powers, deities, etc., and the other who actually believe in their self-supremacy, scientific innovations, and the progression of the world only. The first book in the series is The Poppy War, which is approximately 544 pages, and this book actually discusses the journey of the young protagonist Rin, who is from the southern province and she's a war orphan, but she soon finds her place at Senegard, which is actually a elite military school where students are educated and given the right kind of professional education and skill training that are required to be enrolled in the military training programs. And there are different groups of it that she'll be educating herself towards. But often she is being mistreated because she's an outsider and not a part of the elite society. And many of the people there think that only those such kind of people who are from the elite group should be given this kind of an education, where she, being an orphan, is just a misplaced fortune upon her. But sooner as she is sitting into the synagogue and getting all those educations, she discovers that she's not just a normal war orphan, but she is a shaman. Now, shaman are actually people who can communicate with a specific deity or a god, goddess, in other words, and channel their powers through them. While she's just trying to understand and gauge her powers, how they work, the Federation soldiers are at their door, and that's how the third Poppy War commences. Second book in this series is The Dragon Republic, which is approximately 672 pages, and this book basically discusses the aftermath of what happened in book 1, the war that started and is not yet 100% over. Only one of the phases of that war is over. But because of so many things happened in book 1, towards the end, the shamans are now running away from the empire and looking out for new allies. The new allies being the Dragon Republic province. And they are helping them out to basically go against the Empress, and because of the things that she has done. But obviously things don't go as planned, and for each and every plan they make, for each and every step they take towards the war to win this over, things are scattering few in a very bad situation because all their allies are now turning into the enemies one by one. The only person she can now rely upon is herself and her goddess deity, who is the god of vengeance, none other than the Phoenix. The last book in the series, The Burning God, which is 656 pages, is the saddest book in the series as per my personal opinion, I would say. But because Lynn has been betrayed with most of her allies and she's been considered and thrown away as dead, she now has no other person to support her except her homeland people, which is the Southern Army, who is still willing to support her, and with their help and the goddess at the side, she will now be ready to conquer the world. But being the only girl at the war table, and that too with the capability of raining hell on earth kind of firepower, it necessarily does not mean you will be one of the peace people to be surrounded with. And especially when you have to stand against your loved ones and ancient creatures like dragon, it is really a war against yourself. And to win this war, she might have to just give up her humanity. Now, this whole story is actually a mythical take on the actual history of this empire, which actually discusses many facts in the wrapping up context of fictional stories such as the Poppy War crisis, the Shanghai Wars, the drugs, the smuggling, etc. And that with they have given an added angle of the gods and goddesses and their power plays among the whole control regime thing. Now, let me just put it straightforward out there that each and every book in the series ends on a cliffhanger, so you might just as well be, mentally ready to binge on the whole series together. So, keep your energies, time, and the books all available to get into the series. All in all, this book is somewhere around 1872 pages that are filled with plot twists, tales, and heart wrenching moments for you to consume in. So be ready and be prepared for it. There are moments that will make your nails bite, kind of a situation, and you will get sobby in certain other situations, especially towards the end of most of the books. It really gets very sobby. Don't make me think about that. But I know it's difficult, but I would still recommend you to read this. It's long, it's lengthy, so commit to it only if you can and if you do enjoy them. But it's really good. Now, there's also a side novella called The Drowning Faith, which actually discusses the events that happen in book one, book two, and a first few chapters of book three from Neja's perspective. But I haven't read it right, so I won't be able to review it. And it's not necessarily that you are missing out something from the main story, so it's not actually a part of a series, just a side book for you to consume in. You must be wondering that after discussing so much, what else is left? I can assure you that all those 1872 pages, I can almost write those many of pages of what I'm actually feeling about the series because there is a lot too much to discuss with you guys, honestly, and it's too deep for me to just say it out loud in just one video or even one line. So, going on ahead, we'll be discussing the spoilered version of this book. And if you don't want to read it right now, want to give this a try later, I would suggest you can drop out. For the people who have already read it and want to tally in some thoughts with me, please keep on watching. The rest of you, tada! Overall, the whole series is actually a chunky, floppy piece, and just basically strong enough to hit someone and also strong enough to make someone cry. There is so much bloodshed that it never feels really happy while reading this book, and it will give you pain to go through and also pain to grow through, if you know what I'm saying. And then there are so many descriptions that are there in this book, especially regarding the war scenarios. But there are no roundabout turn that you can just skip this part and go to the next. You won't understand a thing if you even skip a single line. So this is not really for someone to flip through the pages and get to know the whole story. You can't do that. You have to invest yourself very deeply into it. There are so many moments that I actually feel the book could have basically changed directions and the story would be way different from what it is right now and how things ended in book 3. It could have been changed, but as you basically move ahead into the story, get a grasp of what things happened, why things happens, keep contemplating those things in your brain, I think you would basically understand that things become very clear, honestly, that after so many people dying, is there any way to even create a happy end? Of course not. We have actually fooled ourselves to believe that things will be okay after this and they will be over. The next war would be the last one that we are fighting, but it never really ends. There is always one more left, always. The characters in this book that are developed, especially Rin, Kitai, and Neja, was so intricately developed that it basically makes up for the strong plot that we are witnessing over here. It really needs those characters as a pillars of the story to get through the whole thing that is happening around it. And even a single line, I think, if it would be put out of place, this book would, or basically this whole series wouldn't be such an epic to consume. This whole series has, like definitely made it to the god tier rank for me. It's like my childhood had the Harry Potter series to be obsessed about. My YA time frames actually had Lord of the Rings to be thinking about. And now I think my adult self would be coming back and back to the Poppy War series because it's such a great piece of art. It's also an observation that I actually made while reading this book that it has zero smuttiness, like literally zero. And I actually love that. I don't really enjoy very dark, smutty romances that they have in books these days. And they are just examples. These books are actually just an examples of how accurately love can be illustrated without all those erotic descriptions. These books are the reasons why I have a different level of standards when it comes to romances and why I'm not actually able to enjoy any kind of modern day romance stories or books, whatever you would say. I This is the basic reason. I really don't think I will be able to love another book at this level anytime soon. So I'm just taking a break from reading for a few days at least, just to be more appreciative towards the other book and give myself space enough to absorb this one as well. This whole series was a definite 5 out of 5 star personally for me, and I would recommend it to people who actually enjoy the overall combination of fantasy plus mythology and with hints of historical fiction and a bit of factfulness as well. I'm still not over, I would say, especially from the end of book 3. That's really difficult to digest, and it makes me cry every time I think about even that end. Those last 100 pages, you would be thinking that the story is about to end, what's left, what is she going to discuss in so many pages and everything. But as you go through, there are so many twists, there are so many internal dialogues that are happening within Rin's mind that it's so strong it can break a person, I would say. The dialogues are so strong, and those thinking process and the events that are happening, the things that she has to basically bear with and challenge herself at each step, those are really very strongly developed. And now, like all good things, this video too shall end, because if I keep going on, I'll just go on and on blabbering about this book. So I think it's a good place to take a pause and end this video. And thank you so much for watching. If you have made so far into this video, please drop me a red flower that resembles the poppy flower into the comments down below. Until our next video, keep your coffee strong and your TPRs long. Goodbye.